So I want to talk today about something that's been on my mind for, I'd say, a couple months. So I've been thinking a lot about, I guess a decent amount anyway, about for like the last few weeks especially, or the last month really, I guess, getting into the new year. It's been on my mind more, maybe because of that, all the transition that naturally happens every new year. But anyway, I feel like it's fitting for me to talk about it even more so now because it's February, which is Valentine's month. And I think about the heart a lot, but there's something I want to talk about specifically with the heart that I don't think I've really talked about yet. And that is using the heart as a light to have perspective in the world. And basically, I feel like it's important for me to talk about this now because I've been noticing within myself that, basically, I see a lot of problems in the world. But I also see problems in myself that I'm working on. We all need to grow, and I need to grow too. And something that I think gets misunderstood is judgment, because I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Basically, in the spiritual community, I think judgment is misunderstood, and I'm sort of spiritual, but I have a lot of problems with spirituality. I get annoyed with spirituality, and I'll just briefly say why I get annoyed with spirituality. And I was starting to say the wrong word, spirituality. One of the reasons, or some of the reasons I get annoyed with spirituality, even though I'm fairly spiritual, is I feel like the spiritual community has become kind of poisoned by a high level of toxic positivity. That's issue number one with the spiritual community. Issue number two is the spiritual community is heavily disconnecting from the heart and disconnecting from being the embodiment of love due to this toxic positivity, because toxic positivity has become its own duct tape over the mouth of the heart. And so I talked about that in the video I'm about to publish or about to put up, because I basically finished it. I just need to edit it and upload it. And that's where I talked for a while. Sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it's what I do. I'll get to the point in a minute or a few minutes or whatever. But anyway, I have this video that took a long time for me to create, which is basically where I talked about all the toxic positivity and all the issues and the heart disconnection prevalent within the manifesting community, which is why I have so many issues with manifestation. I don't think all manifestation is bad. Sorry, I said that wrong. I don't think all manifestation is bad, but I think most manifestation is bad, because I think most manifestation is actually disconnecting you from your heart. And I talked about that in the video. It's a very long video. It's like 2 hours, but it's about all the basically evils within manifesting. And a big part of the issue with the spiritual community right now and the toxic positivity, I think a lot of that comes from the toxic positivity and the heart disconnection that's almost unavoidable in manifesting. It is avoidable, but it's difficult to avoid. And that is why I do not manifest, unless you want to call my manifesting as basically, I pray. That's what I'm trying to say. I pray, and that's my form of manifesting. But I pray and I try to operate from a place of love. And that's my form of manifesting. But obviously, that's not what the manifestation is that's, super popular within the spiritual community. It's not prayer. Sure, people pray when they manifest, on top of manifesting. There are some spiritual people who pray, but it's not a part of manifesting typically within the spiritual community. And that is a big part of why I think manifesting is so dangerous. But it's not just that it's not prayer. It's also that it's disconnecting you from your heart through emotional suppression. So anyway, I talked about that in another video. But the point is, a big part of why I question the spiritual community is the toxic positivity that's also present within manifesting. And I guess there are more issues that I have with spirituality. I mean, there definitely are. But the main issue is just the heart disconnection, largely through toxic positivity. And so the reason that's relevant to what I'm about to talk about is because basically judgment is kind of, the need for judgment is dismissed heavily, I think, in the spiritual community, because it's kind of like a lot of spiritual people think, well, I just need to work on myself, and that's pretty much that. And they're not recognizing that, it's ironic, because I'm going to say this part too. A lot of spiritual people believe that they're all one with others, like they're all connected. And I believe that too. That's one of the really beautiful elements of spirituality. I mean, you find it within Christianity too. It's this idea, the idea like within Christianity is brothers and sisters in God and in Christ. And within spirituality, it's kind of almost like you're all connected because you're all created from the same God, or a lot of spiritual people call God the universe. But anyway, you're all created from the same God. And so there's an intersection there, or maybe that's not the right word, but there's like overlap, right? And you have connection with others in that way through having been created by God. However, even though a lot of spiritual people recognize we're all one, and I believe we're all one too, we're all from the same God. And we all have this connection. It's not just we're created by God. We're actually created from God, I believe. We're all fractals of God. We don't have the all-knowingness of God, but we're all created from God, right? And that's what I believe. And what's ironic is a lot of spiritual people feel that, yes, we're created from God, or they might call that God the universe, or source, or creator, or spirit, but God essentially, right? I call God God. I don't like the word the universe. Personally, it's fine if you want to use the word universe, but the issue with the word the universe for God for me is that the reason I don't think it's healthy for me to call God the universe is that when I think of the universe, I don't think of love. I think of a kind of like a spread out, kind of separated, like almost like a dark abyss, and it doesn't feel like a loving being. And another thing I've heard, and I think this is actually, I also believe this, another thing I've heard where people have criticized using the word universe for God is that God created the universe. And so you want to connect more with God than the creation, but to connect with God, you have to connect with the creation too. So there's nothing wrong with finding beauty in the universe. Of course you want to find beauty in the universe, but you don't want the universe to be where you stop that connection. You also want to connect to God. So anyway, it's both. You want to connect to both. But anyway, but again, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry, but it's kind of, I've got a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to like put them all out there kind of fast. So anyway, judgment. So basically, we have this connection, right? We have this connection with others. And the issue is that a lot of spiritual people recognize this connection, and I recognize that connection too, but it's ironic because a lot of spiritual people think that, okay, I'm connected to others, but I shouldn't acknowledge problems in others. And I'm like, no, you should. You should acknowledge problems in others, and you should acknowledge problems in yourself. And a wonderful way of understanding that is if you believe we're all one, then we have this connection. And if you can, be that, make that decision to change yourself and to become a better person, shouldn't you voice the need for that to others? Shouldn't you tell others, hey, I don't agree with what you're doing. Let's change this. There are so many problems in the world, and God needs us to help be the vessel of God's love in this world. And part of being the vessel of God's love in this world is acknowledging when there are problems, right? Not just sitting back and being like, oh, it's fine. I'm on my path. He's on his path. It's fine. She's on her path. It's fine. Let's just, we're all just doing what we're doing. No, that's where the spiritual community has become very apathetic. And that's one of the major issues within spirituality. On top of the heart disconnection, it's also the apathy present within spirituality. So anyway, so I want to talk specifically about that need for voicing of concerns. So I'm going to get into that now. So with the heart space, because now I'm going to talk about kind of the need for, I kind of went over the need for judgment just now a little bit, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the need for judgment of yourself, or not judgment might not be the right word, but like looking deeply at yourself while looking deeply at the issues, like looking deeply at the issues in yourself as well as the good within yourself, while also looking at the issues within society and within others, I can't speak right now, the issues within others as well as the good within others. And that's its own form of judgment, I think. Not negative judgment. And that's another issue. Judgment's taken as negative, and judgment's both negative and positive because it's perspective. Judgment is largely perspective, and finding, almost like going, like trying to analyze something to try to understand it. And that's judgment, really. So it doesn't have to be all negative. It's both negative and positive, because there's nuance. But anyway, so if we're leading by our heart, and actually I want to talk about this. Sorry, I'm a little scattered. I get scattered sometimes or oftentimes when I do these videos, and I feel more scattered today because there's just been a lot going on. I don't know. But anyway, and I haven't been outside as much as I should be like the last couple of days, and I'm outside now if you can hear the birds. But anyway, I'm a little scattered today, but I felt like I needed to talk about this anyway. So basically, we need to see, we need to be that change within ourselves, prompt that change within ourselves to be that vessel of God's love in the world. But we also need to recognize problems in the world as well, where others are doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. But we need to see it not in an isolated way, but actually from our heart. And so I have an analogy I want to share on this, and that is using your heart as the light. So your heart being within you is what's going to bring that love into the world. It's going to enable you to embody the vessel of love in the world. And being that light, having the heart be that light, it's connected to you, it's in you, but it illuminates, it permeates, permeates your body, and it goes outside of your body and it's cast out into the world for that perspective. And so if you're using the light of your heart to see the issues in the world, you're also going to see the issues within yourself. It's not going to be either or, it's going to be both. If you're using the light of your heart to see problems in the world, you're going to see problems within yourself. But you're also going to see, if you're using the light of your heart to see problems within yourself, you're naturally going to see problems in the world. Okay? But because the heart seeks love and the heart is the vessel of love, it's not one or the other. It's not only going to see the negative, it's also going to see the positive. It's going to recognize that nuance. And so when the light of the heart is used to see the problems within yourself, it's also going to see the beauty within yourself. It's going to see the positive potential within yourself. When the light of the heart is used to see problems in the world, it's going to also see the good in the world, what needs to be nurtured and what needs to be transformed. Okay? The good that needs and the beauty that needs to be nurtured and enabled, and the negative that needs to be nurtured, healed, and transformed, but needs to change. And you're going to notice those issues within yourself, the good and the bad, and the bad that needs to be nurtured, then healed and changed and transformed. Not nurtured by staying the same, but nurtured like given love to transform it into the positive. Okay? But ultimately seeking to change the bad to good, right? The bad within yourself to good, and the bad within others and within society to good. And so if you're, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't only look at others without looking at yourself, and can't only look at yourself without looking at others. But you also can't only look at the bad without looking at the good, but you also can't only look at the good without looking at the bad if you're leading by the heart space, because the heart is the light and it sees it all. Now, because the heart is the embodiment of love and you're using the light of the heart understands, because it's God's love. I talked about this in another video, in multiple videos actually, although I think I've only put them online twice, but I have like 5 videos. I just haven't uploaded all of them yet. because I have to edit them, and it's just, I don't know, it takes a while, especially if it's a long video like the 2-hour manifesting video. So anyway, on the evils of manifesting. But anyway, so basically, so the heart embodies love more than any part of the soul, because the heart pumps love throughout the soul. And I believe the love that we have within us is love from God. And so the heart pumps the love of God through us. Well, anyway, love of God is the ultimate source of clarity. But that being said, that love can become wounded in this world, which is why it needs to be nurtured, healed, and then transformed through that nurturing and healing into a positive representation of love. And I talked about this like I said, in multiple videos. And I talked about it in a video that I already have up, which is called the vilification, something about the spiritual community vilifies fear way, way too much, which I think is true. The spiritual community does, in my opinion, vilify fear way, way too much. And I'm so sick of the vilification of fear in the spiritual community. I want the vilification of fear to end. And I'm very upset with the spiritual community for the way that it has vilified fear. So anyway, I talked about that in the video called, I believe it's called The Spiritual Community. I cannot speak. I kind of like get ahead of myself and I jumble my words. The spiritual community vilifies fear way, way too much, I believe is the name of the video. And anyway, so in that video, I talked about the role of the heart. But anyway, so the heart embodies love. And because it embodies love, it knows more than any other part of our soul what's necessary. And it's the closest to God of any part of our soul. It's the most connected part of our soul to God. And so the heart, because it's the most connected to God and it's got that clarity from love, it knows what to do, especially when it's being nurtured. And so by choosing to use your heart as a light is its own form of nurturing the heart space. And because of that, you really get this beautiful perspective where you're able to understand, like, more and more through time, through using your heart as the light, you're able to strike or find that balance where it's not just, you're getting closer and closer to that balance where you're not, through time, you're not going to focus too much on the positive, but you're also not going to focus too much on the negative. You're going to find a healthy balance. You're not going to be in toxic positivity, but you're also not going to be in toxic negativity. You're not going to be focusing too much on others and the problems with others, but you're also not going to focus too much on the problems within yourself, because your heart is going to lead you and you're going to become more and more embodied in the heart, which is going to make you grow as a soul. And another way of understanding this is the heart is it's not just a light, it's almost like a heat lamp. And the heat lamp kind of makes you sleepy almost. And so the longer you're in that light of the heart, the more you just kind of mellow, almost like it's nap time. You've got the heat lamp on. You're just like, oh, this, I'm sleepy. This feels good. It's cold outside and this just feels so good. I want to take a nap. You take a nice little nap and you're refreshed. And then you're like, okay, now I can look at myself again and the issues in the world. And you're more almost, loving, but it's not just that. There's another word. There's more calmness there, where it's almost like you're just able to see things more clearly, almost like when you are exhausted and you take a nap and you feel refreshed, right? So anyway, so yeah, I guess that's basically what I wanted to say on this. We need to both look at ourselves and others and the problems within ourselves and within others, as well as the good within ourselves and within others. But I'm worried that the spiritual community, it's not just the spiritual community, but I find this a lot in the spiritual community. I'm worried that we're not focusing enough in the spiritual community. And I'm kind of spiritual. I'm about 50% spiritual, maybe 40-something% spiritual, 40-something% Christian, and then like 10% of I don't know what. I have various beliefs, but I believe in many elements of spirituality and many elements of Christianity. But I have a lot of problems with spirituality because I feel like the spiritual community has become toxically positive and has vilified the acknowledgement of pain within our world and has spiritually bypassed. And I get very frustrated with the spiritual community for this. I'm sick of spiritual bypassing. I'm sick of toxic positivity. Now, there's also a problem with toxic negativity. You don't want toxic positivity, and you also don't want toxic negativity. But anyway, so that's just about, I guess, all that I really wanted to say in this video. I mean, I could go on a little bit more in more detail, but I don't know. I think I have a tendency, or I've noticed within the videos that I've been recording, or sound clips, whatever you want to call it, that I've been recording, that I haven't put online yet. A trend within those is they take longer, way longer than I thought they would. And there's a positive element to that, and that I'm expressing some stuff that I think needs to be discussed. But at the same time, I know that I don't need to, put so much emphasis on getting like all this explanation in one video, because there's time. I can put more explanation, more detail in videos later on. So anyway, I think this is enough for this discussion now. The heart needs to be that light, and the heart, through being that light, is going to see both the positive and the negative. And I'm just, I think that's important because I think it's important because we need to talk about, or we need to acknowledge the good and the bad, but also because I am going to be talking or making criticisms in future videos. I've already been making criticisms, and I'm probably going to continue. But I'm not making these criticisms to just be like, oh, super judgmental. No, or like negative judgmental. I'm not trying to be negatively judgmental. It's that, because we're all connected, part of being that change, that positive change in the world, is acknowledging and voicing when there are problems in the world. But we need to do it from a loving place. And if we do it from a loving place, which is our heart space, and use the heart as our light, then we're able to naturally see and value and honor and acknowledge and cherish the good, while also saying, hey, this needs to change. This isn't good. This is good, but this isn't good. And this needs to change. And so I'm going to try to do a lot of that in future videos. And I've already been trying. And I have some videos up where I've made criticisms, which is why I made a pretty heavy criticism of the spiritual community through the vilification of fear. And the vilification of negative emotions. And I did that very heavily within the manifesting video. A huge part of my issue with manifesting, like I already said, is that toxic positivity and the dismissal of the dismissal of the negative emotions, the air quotes negative and air quotes emotions, when negative emotions are just the expression of wounded love. And I talked about that in the vilification of fear video, and I also talked about that in the manifesting video, but the manifesting video isn't up yet. It's the beginning of February right now. I don't know when the manifesting video is going to be up. I think it'll be up in the next few days, but it could be longer. But I don't really have a reason to not have it up by February 20th or something. There's really no reason to not have it up unless I have some massive technical issue. So anyway, so I'm going to be making some criticisms on my channel, but I'm also going to talk about the good. I have to remember to talk about the good too. But I just feel like, this is necessary, but also this is a necessary discussion. But also, using the heart as light is something I think a lot of people could learn from, because there is definitely, it feels like a lot of people fall on very heavily on one extreme or another extreme. Either they're like super duper judgmental of others, not really looking at themselves, or they're seeing like all the bad, not really seeing much of the good, or they're seeing so much good without really seeing the bad, which is what happens within the spiritual community through toxic positivity. So anyway, there's toxic positivity and there's toxic negativity. It goes both ways. But if you're using your heart as the light to have clarity both on what you have issues on that need to be worked on within yourself, but also issues within the world, you're also going to naturally see the good in yourself and the good in the world, because your heart is that vessel of love, or the part of your soul that embodies love more than any other part of the soul. So anyway, thank you for listening, and have a good day or night. Thank you. Bye.